Bob, listening that way on Ashburn, Virginia, is on the line. Hey, Bob, you're a former pharmacologist. You want to talk about smoking and eating pot?
Hi, Tom. Yeah, actually, I worked in a sub-discipline of pharmacology called pharmacognosy, which is the study of natural substances or pharmaceutical substances that can be derived from natural substances.
All right.
And one of the things that's really strange about the Dowd story, did she say that she had never used any form of marijuana before?
I didn't read the entire column. I just read the excerpt that was over at TPM, so I don't know. But I would guess anybody who reacts, that way has probably never experienced it before.
Well, see, actually, there's the irony. One of the strange things about the cannabinoids, especially the psychoactive ones, and they're not all psychoactive,
right?
Is that unlike other hallucinogens, your body actually has to become experienced as to how to metabolize them so that they act on the cannabinoid receptors. You actually have to do them several times before there'll be any effect.
Oh, and that's why I've had so many people throughout my life, mostly conservatives, but it's sort of a variation on Bill Clinton's comment. I tried it once and I didn't like it. He said he didn't inhale, right? They asked Obama and he said, well, of course I inhaled. That's the whole point. But why so many people have said to me, and I thought they were just, BSing me, frankly. They said, yeah, I tried pot. It didn't do anything at all. And so I never bothered again.
They're telling you the truth. That's the absolute truth. It's unique among the psychoactives in that sense.
That's interesting. I never knew that.
Quite like it.
Because the first time I smoked pot, it was like, whoa, this is cool. And I was like,
it depends on your own metabolism too.
Yeah.
Okay,
but we have endogenous. Not only do we have cannabinoid receptors in our brain and throughout our body, and also in our immune system, which I find fascinating. But we also have we also produce endogenous and internal to our body. We produce natural cannabinoids ourselves.
Right, and the cannabinoids that you get from ingesting marijuana are actually they're agonists. They cause the endogenous to be absorbed more effectively, and that's why you get the effect. It's one of the interesting things one of the things we were looking at actually was the fact that some of the cannabinoids induce apoptosis, which is controlled cell death in cancer cells.
Right, which prevents you from getting cancer.
Right, and that's why in the studies that they did, remember there was that original study that was done, I think it was the University of Massachusetts. They were trying to prove, of course, like all sponsored studies by the government, that marijuana was harmful.
Well, that it caused lung cancer specifically.
Right. They wanted to see whether it caused lung cancer, and the thing that popped out of the study was that not only were the marijuana smokers not getting lung cancer, but the people who smoked cigarettes and marijuana were getting lung cancer at a much lower rate.
Than the people who just smoke cigarettes, right?
Right.
And the people who and there have been other studies that have shown that people who regularly smoke marijuana throughout their lives get lower rates of all kinds of cancers.
Yes, and it put the entire medical community on their ear. They didn't want to. That data was suppressed for years. It's out there finally now in the public domain. You can access the articles, the journal articles. But anyway, but there's just something I find a little, I want to say, incredible or non-credible about the Dowd story. And
I think she just overdosed. I mean, doesn't that make perfect sense that she misread the directions or
right. Well, see, that was the
or she was just also, Bob, if I may interrupt, one of the things that I first learned, I mean, the first day that I smoked pot was also the first day that I took acid. And I took it in a very controlled setting. I took it in a Methodist church with a group of people who were doing it, including the pastor, who were doing it, and a fellow who'd come out from San Francisco who'd been with Tim Leary, in order to have a spiritual experience. And we did it with the Tibetan Book of the Dead and groovy, good music and candles. And we did it in the sanctuary of the Methodist Church in East Lansing, Michigan, on Trowbridge Road. And this, I believe, this was when LSD was still legal. I think it was 1966, as I recall. And what I learned was that it's all about set and setting. If you're in a set and setting that is comfortable and supportive, where you would naturally feel relaxed and pleasant, you're going to have a great time. And if you're in a set setting where you would naturally feel frightened or paranoid, if you're, sitting in the back of a police car, or if you're in a awkward social setting, or if you're an introvert and you find yourself at a party where introverts are uncomfortable, you're going to have an unpleasant trip. And so, somebody needs to tell Maureen Dowd that.
Yes, that would, well, see, that, and you're absolutely right. I mean, you know as well as I do, Aldous Huxley and others have talked extensively about that. But the thing with Dowd's experience too, I also find it a little non-credible. I've visited several of these dispensaries in Colorado.
Uh-huh.
They give you very specific instructions about how much of the ingestibles to take.
Right. And
almost without fail, all of these stories that talk about people having bad experiences on the ingestibles, they did not follow the instructions.
Yes, and that's my point. Is find out what you're taking, find out what your appropriate dose is, and that's why my personal recommendation. And this is not even a recommendation. I don't want to be in the business of telling people how to use drugs or even to use drugs, because for a lot of people this is just totally inappropriate and they shouldn't do it. But, my personal experience has been that I can regulate my dose by smoking or vaporizing. And I don't, and let me qualify this. I haven't used pot in well over a decade because it's illegal. And in fact, in the last probably 3 decades, I don't think I've used it more than 3 or 4 times. And those were all in social settings or in Amsterdam. We went there, we went to Holland the Christmas after 9/11 because the airlines were giving away airline seats. And the Marriott next to the Rijksmuseum, which normally is $400 a night, was selling for $100 a night because everybody was afraid to get on an airplane. So, and I had all these frequent flyer miles. We took all 3 of our adult children. They were all over 21. We took them to this really fancy schmancy restaurant right next to across the street from the Rijksmuseum and right next to the big casino. And it's like one of the fanciest restaurants in Amsterdam. And the white linen tablecloths and waiters in tuxedos. And the waiter comes over and he hands me the wine menu and he hands me the pot menu. And I'll just leave the story at that. But it was a fascinating experience. So anyhow, Bob, thanks a lot for the call. I'm probably revealing far more about myself than I should. But Bob, I appreciate the call. It's great to hear from an actual pharmacologist.